lame, but we did just do one section of Riven's Lair for the seasonal mission. Maybe the next step will be good. Nerdbot, what's our next objective?
The next part of the quest is to do a lost sector in the Dreaming City.
You're joking, right?
Are you going to complain about it?
Well, yeah, I was expecting a cool mission, not to play reused content.
People like you are so entitled. You don't know how hard it is to develop games. People like you are so entitled. All you do is complain. You know, why don't you go make a video crying about it like all the other Bungie haters?
You know what? I think I will. I'll make that video, and I'll put more effort into that video than Bungie did this whole season. We're doing a live review of Season of the Wish. I'm going to be honest with everyone watching this, the VOD, as this is going to be edited. I made a full-on script. It is a nice script. It is like 8-9 pages long. And I also had some like green screen play going on. I had a lot of fun things planned, like jokes. I'm going to be honest. I just don't care. I put way more effort into something that is not worth it. Like, Destiny doesn't deserve this much effort from me. There's other games I would like to do reviews on that deserve more effort. I might still do one skit with the green screen, maybe one, to kick us off. An ungodly amount of hours than most pro-typical players. I also have a full-time job that isn't YouTube, that isn't playing Destiny 2. I am a person who plays the game, surprisingly, for fun. So I come from this viewpoint that isn't clouded by cash, by fame, by any of this. This is just a dude who plays games, and he plays this game too much. That's the perspective that you need to see this review from. Take your bubble out of whoever content creator. They get paid for this. This is a subjective opinion, my subjective opinion. Do you have to agree with me? Absolutely not. Am I trying to encourage you not to play the season? That depends. I'm going to give you my input, and then you decide whether you believe or feel the same. And if you don't, and you want to buy the season, more power to you. It is all up to you. If you've been on the channel, you know I've never shied away from getting brutally honest opinions in regard to Destiny and Bungie. Very honest. So let's go into what I call Season of the Scattered Signal, or the loot review. And by the title of that statement, you can imagine what I'm going to say. Here we are live in game, because why not? The best thing, we're going to talk about loot. You need to be able to see what the loot is. And I've crafted everything. Everything's crafted. Everything I have. When talking about Destiny 2, we all play for one singular reason, maybe two reasons, right? The biggest one is loot. We love loot. The other is obviously we like to shoot and kill things. Those are like the two main ones, right? It's what makes Destiny 2 a looter shooter. If you were expecting the Season of the Forge level of weapons, you'll be disappointed. In fact, I think most seasons this year have been disappointing, and previous seasons have been disappointing. I think the only season I was ever hyped was Season of the Dawn. Like, we had some iconic weapons, especially themed off of Saint 14. Overall, I thought that was a good loot season. Seasonal weapons are not meant to be overpowered. They specifically want raids to be the highest potential for strong weapons. That means like perks, combinations, and such. They specifically want raids to be the chase of the game. That and some adepts, right? But mostly raids. But even in the pile of generic trash that we are given season after season, sometimes we can find a diamond bracelet that some kids threw in the trash can accidentally, right? Mom's walking, kid grabs mom's diamond bracelet, throws it in the trash after playing with it. Like, I don't care. And then you might find something like, whoa, that's heck yeah. What I'm talking about is scatter signal. This beauty here is probably this thing is probably one of the best. Let me get a good view. There it is. One of the best weapons in the game. In fusion category, let's be specific. Fusion category, right? The hottest item of the season. The absolute must-have, not simply because it's the first strand fusion rifle, but the fact that it's the fusion rifle for PvE. We'll get to PvP in a minute. It's the #1 DPS fusion in the game right now. If you're new, if you're returning to the game, or a veteran who hasn't decided to play the season, I'm here to tell you, above all else, this gun is the gun of the season. It's being used in raids, GMs, any content in the game, it's being used. I took it into the Warlord's Ruin dungeon and did solo flawless with this in combination with with Dragon's Breath. It is a nasty gun. And I'm not talking about with artifact mods. On its own, it is nasty. Can you still use your Riptide with Chill Clip? It's not as good as it was with the Chill Clip being nerfed. Yes, you can still use Chill Clip. I'm still using Chill Clip on my Riptide. But this for DPS, I can do some massive DPS, right? If you are wanting, you have limited amount of time, you work a 9 to 5, you've got kids, you want to play, you just want to know what's worth your grind. I'm going to tell you, 100% always get scatter signal, and then maybe a Pentis, because it's the only stasis trace rifle. But also, more importantly, if you're not doing trials, it is the only trace rifle in the kinetic slot, and that's all you need to know. Everything else is replaceable. Everything else is replaceable in the game. Again, I'm not going to sit here or in the comment section trying to convince people that these weapons are mid. That's my opinion. They're, in my opinion, very mid, except for the one I talked about. It's my review, and only that is factual, right? The only thing that's really factual that the community can agree on is that scatter signal is meta and has an incredibly high player usage rate. Witchkeeper. My God. Talk about a bow that is so controversial, not because of it itself, because people just don't understand what support means in a game. I like it. I really, really want to like it. I'll be honest. It's pretty mid. It is lackluster. For one, its build up takes way too long. And I'm comparing this stuff from a end game perspective. If you're talking about basic core missions and patrols and basic nightfalls, any gun works. So we have to look at actual viability from all aspects of the game. And you can do that by looking at the end game. It takes too long. It's not as good as you think it is. As of now, the only thing that is worth your time, in my opinion, is scatter signal. The best fusion in the game for PvE. Whoops! All solar is what I have titled on the script. This is based on the theme, and I had to talk about this. We're talking about the theme of Season of the Wish. I had to put this in the review because it's comical what Bungie advertises for season versus what we get in reality. During Season of the Witch, Bungie made it seem like the next season was moving towards a renewed focus on stasis, because people complained, hey, stasis is getting left behind. Strand is really strong. Why use stasis when we have Strand? They give us the old reliable response. We hear you. I bet you do. We're making some changes to stasis. Well, they definitely made something change. Some stasis, but mostly solar. Don't get me wrong. I love solar. I love the artifact mods this season. I I love that there's more explosions this season than any other season we have ever had. It's like living a real Michael Bay movie, and especially in Grandmasters, everything's just blowing up and exploding. It's real Michael Bay energy. Polaris Lance has become one of my favorite weapons in the game. And I kind of wish that they kind of take some of the artifacts and just kind of give it a buff directly to Polaris Lance in the future. So it's just feeling as spicy, because my God, I really do love Polaris Lance for PvE, at least, right? A lot of this stuff, the explosions are for PvE. How many solars are there? There's maybe 3 stasis. Most of them are more focused on strand, like the really good ones are solar. So much so that most people are doing solar in raids and Grandmasters, but they also didn't really do much for it outside of maybe Shatter Dive in PvP, because hunters can now nuke things. All they did was really reverse some of the nerfs to stasis. The only reason you don't see people complaining nearly as much about like Shatter Dive is because you have Titans in the corner with void banners having wall offs, and hunters out there playing Naruto in trials using Shadow Clone Jutsu, except the Shadow Clone Jutsus are filled with man-eating roaches. It's just comical that Bungie says, we hear you, let's bring the ice. But instead they bring sunglasses and we're getting ready to have a tan because of all the solar energy going on here. Even the battle pass. Go to the battle pass. What do we have at the battle pass? What is this? Look at this. Look at this. What is this? It's a solar rocket. Is it stasis? No, it's solar. Listen, I love Dragon Breath, by the way. So this is not me hating it. I'm glad it's back. It is probably one of my favorite rocket launchers, and I specifically saved it in the review for this moment so I could talk about it. I will admit I was wrong. I said when I saw the preview, this sounds like it's going to be crap. And it is as good as Anarchy used to be, if not better. Now, let me talk about a love story. That's right. We're talking about love. Who doesn't love love? The bomb dollar is Bungie can make fantastic stories. They've made great lore. So yes, we have fantastic lore throughout the game. But can I be honest with you? Let's just have a moment to be honest here. This is a brutally honest moment. The season story sucks. There are 3 different stories going on right now. The biggest one is the 15th Wish, which we found out about at the end of Season of the Witch. By the way, I like that, the Season of the Witch, the storyline was pretty cool. We now know we need to get the wish granted. Why does the wish matter? Because after a half of a year trying to figure out how to chase the witness, we now have the answer to that. I wish I was joking. The first half of the year was just figuring out who the witness was and what the veil even is. Though that's what Lightfall should have been. I know, I'm beating a dead horse, or dragon in this case. I'm beating a dead dragon. But the other half of the year has been focusing on, well, how do we follow him? Which I think is fine, right? I think that should have been what the season, the whole year should have been about. How do we pursue? Not half of it getting answers that should have been already answered in Lightfall. So this season of the Wish, we do just that. We finally get the answers. We finally get the wish granted. We somehow bring back a dead dragon that we killed in the last Wish raid, Rivet. The second plot point is the sibling love between Mara and Crow. The problem with that is that it goes from 0 to 100. We see the two interact throughout the year. We see them interact, right? But in this season, it's just like Crow is Aldrin again, minus the villainous nature. It would have made sense to build it up over the season, but there was no build up. Out of nowhere, Crow is like, this is my sister. I love her so much. Like, what? In fact, Riven even antagonizes Crow about his past, which would have been a great way to lead him to working out his emotions with his sister. But we skip all of that. Talking about Riven, we had the best opportunity to bring up the fact that Crow lost his love interest. Riven has been toying with him. It would have been great for her to bring that up. Instead, like the rest of the year, we act like Amanda Holiday doesn't exist. In fact, him coping the loss of his girlfriend could have been a great way to bridge the sibling relationship. But Bungie can't even come up with that basic. They can't. They can't even, all this lore, and they couldn't even come up with a good story. The third part is the story is Riven's love life. Listen, I love backstory. I love character development. But we are at the end of the Light and Darkness saga. Who the hell cares about a love story between dragons? Not only that, but who the hell cares about Riven? She's dead. Why do we need character development on a character that is dead? We put more development. We put more development into our raid boss than we did Amanda Holiday, who we've known since D1. We give more respect to a dead dragon than we do a character we've known longer and loved. And yes, the biggest complaint for Lightfall was that we didn't have character development. But the problem there is the characters that were, like Rohan, was introduced. He was alive and could have used the character development. Riven is dead. Riven is dead. But what about the Amakar eggs? Do they need to make a story about the Amakar eggs to bring dragons back into Destiny 2? They could have done that anyways. How many things have Bungie retconned in the story already? How many things involve a MacGuffin? Bad writing is bad writing, and this season is among the bad ones. No one will remember nor care about anything in this season except the moment the 15th wish was granted and Crow jumping through the portal. That's it. Also, for some reason, the Vex are involved. They're shoehorned into this for no apparent reason other than Riven's mate was in the Black Garden for some reason. The Scorn have more of a reason to be in this season than the Vex do. The Scorn are literally trying to have their wishes granted, and it's a continuation of the story provided in the Warlord's Ruined Dungeon. Again, bad writing is bad writing. Moving on. Seasonal activities. Oh, baby. Isn't this going to be a hot topic to talk about? Because, boy, people not going to like what I have to say about this. Let's jump into the seasonal activities, which include the Coil, which I have not unlocked on this character. It's a node over here. And the one section of the Coil, which is labeled Riven's Lair. It is literally one, it even says it, fight your way through one of the pathways of Riven's Lair and slay the trespassers that seek it. It is literally cut content from the activity that is the Coil. Then there's the exotic mission, Star-Crossed, and lastly we have the seasonal missions. So, hopping right into it, let's talk about Star-Crossed. Yes, we're going to talk about it first because I have the least to say about it. It takes place in the Black Garden. It's cool. It's short, and we'll talk about that later in the review. It has some pretty cool encounters that can be fun, but the boss is the biggest letdown. You go through and you learn about the symbols mechanics right off the bat from the very get-go. You use these symbols to understand the order of killing enemies to unlock the doors. You get buffs that allow you to damage shielded enemies. And this is pretty much the same throughout except the boss. Like, you're doing all these mechanics all the way to the end. Yes, the buff mechanic does remain, but it's so minimal in the actual boss fight that you almost forget it exists. It's such a letdown that they dropped one of the core mechanics that they introduced. And it's not pro-typical that they even introduce these kind of mechanics for exotic missions. So it was really cool when they did. But it's also not pro-typical of them to introduce something and then just drop it out of nowhere. They usually follow all the way through of whatever. It's usually dungeons that they do it, and they usually follows all the way through. It's almost like they ran out of ideas and said, screw it, just fight the boss and call it a day. It's not the worst exotic mission, but it is pitiful when compared to exotic gems, like exotic mission gems, such as the Whisper and the 0 Hour mission. I think that's the pinnacle of secret or exotic missions. But what about the core activities of the season? The Coil, which is not going to show up because this character doesn't have it. But the Coil. What about the core activity of the season? The Coil. Let's be honest. I'm not even going to act like there are two activities. Riven's Lair is the Coil. Bungie just cut a section out of it and made it into a glorified strike. That's all Riven's Lair is, a glorified strike. I thought the Season of the Plunder was bad, but at least it had two actual separate activities. Riven's Lair is a joke. It is very lazy. So, what about the Coil? What's the verdict on the Coil? It's going to be controversial. I know a lot of people are going to want to argue about this. But let's first take a look at the Coil, and then I'll tell you why I think the Coil is better than the Menagerie. I know, controversial. Last season, we had the option to choose the difficulty of an activity, which would give us better rewards. The Coil is a gauntlet of activities that continues to get more and more challenging as you go through the rounds. Each round rewards loot at the end, and then you jump into the next rotation. In this activity, you have revive tokens, similar to Grandmasters. Bungie also introduced score into the season, which actually matters. How do you get score? Playing the Zelda pot smashing simulator. I wish I was joking. You have to go around smashing pots in between the encounters and kill moat goblins to increase your score. At release, it was very stingy, and Platinum was very challenging for some people. At the time of making this review, Bungie has reduced the score, and it's been reduced even more, which I think is okay. I really do. There's no reason to double dip for a seasonal activity. If you have a token system, then the point system shouldn't be punishing. So why do I think the Coil is better than the Menagerie? Well, for one, it provides a challenge. It actually makes me think about my choices, and I actually have to have a decent build to get through it. No build? No problem. Go play Riven's Lair. It's a glorified strike that anyone can do. I know that's a little elitist, but I'm telling you how it is. Also, you can just do some of the easier rotations of the Coil and then bounce. And you keep all the rewards. So it's not like new players can't do the Coil. You can. You're not forced to keep going up the difficulty chain. Not only does it make me invest more time and attention, which I'm going to backtrack. You can stop at any time you want. You could not do that with Season of the Wish activity. You were forced to have to start it and end it before you got rewards. Here, you finish a rotation, you're done. Peace, bye. So if in the Season of the Witch, if someone put in to make it a hard challenge that you didn't want to do, you felt like you wasted your time. Here, it builds up. And so before it gets too hard, you can bounce. No time wasted. Not only does this activity make me invest more attention into the activity is the most rewarding activity we've ever had. If you go all the way to the end of the activity is the most fulfilling of loot, especially if you get platinum. If you get platinum, you will be rained of loot. I completed almost all the crafted weapons by mostly doing a couple of runs of the Coil. Okay, not maybe just a couple, but I did a very rare amount. It took about a good run, about 30, 40 minutes with just a random LFG. I'm sure if you had a min-max team and you were grinding and farming, you could probably go faster. But for a casual LFG random pairing team, 30, 40 minutes. But it's well worth the time. You get bonus chests, as you're about to see in the video. You get bonus chests in between each round. And he's collecting points as well. Granted, it is Dreaming City gear mostly. Like weapon-wise, you can get other things. But the fact that you still get loot is fantastic. You get to focus specific loot or go the RNG route in between the pot smashing simulation. You get to, once you get to the end, especially the platinum room, you can choose specifically, I want an RNG chest or I want this, like if it says a linear symbol, you know when you click that chest, you're going to get a focused linear weapon. Yes, the menagerie was rewarding, but people have rose-tinted glasses and forget that most people took advantage of the multiple chest glitch. Where running back and forth, you could keep reactivating the chest until they patched it, and then they just made it where you get 2 chests at the end. This is far more rewarding. Just 10 times rewarding. I think if people weren't jaded about seasons or, you know, activities, they would love the Coil a lot more. But people are pretty much done with seasons. And it's a shame because it's a really, the most shameful thing is that we get a really good activity, especially for loot, and it's at the end of the year cycle. So no one cares. But that's Bungie's fault, not the consumer's fault. Missions. Never met them. I've got some hot takes to hold onto your butts. We've got missions, and they're filled with story. Or at least that's what people would like to believe. You're absolutely right. There are quests from like 6 years ago. Remember Forsaken? I do, because I bought the expansion. It was always great to pay money to play content I already paid for. And the story is fresh, it's new, it's very interactive. You can't complain about that. Yes, because there's nothing more fun than sitting and watching characters have a conversation while we have no interaction at all. If I wanted to creepily stare by people and just stare at them while they talk, I could go outside and watch random strangers talk in real life if I want to be weird and creepy. The story delivery is predictable. It's lazy, and honestly, I'd rather play a Telltale game where at least it's an interactive movie. It knows what it is. Versus the social, weird, awkward interaction simulator. Like, I'm too shy to talk, so I'm just gonna stand there and watch you guys do all the talking. The developing a game is so hard. It takes so long to make things. The community has made it loud and clear that they do not like seasons. They are tired of the lazy model. And if it wasn't a problem, Bungie wouldn't be switching to episodes. And people are be like, well, see, they are listening to the community. You just made yourself really dumb looking. Why complain about something that's changing, Mr. Gaming Counselor? It's not like they could change anything now. Actually, my retort to that is the community has spoken out against seasons for over 2 years now. The only reason Bungie is starting to address the situation is because of Lightfall was a colossal failure. And they have no choice but to desperately bring back players to Destiny. The reality is that Bungie has had plenty of time to make course corrections. And while, yes, this is the last season, and even though I do not expect drastic changes, I would have at least hoped they tried to maintain some kind of goodwill with the community by addressing some of the concerns before the release of the final shape. But it's actually comically the opposite. Instead of even meeting the same quality we've gotten in previous seasons, we've actually gotten less. I wish I was kidding you. I wish I was kidding you. But the facts are better than opinions. Let's go over the weekly missions and the tasks that Bungie has you do for Season of the Wish missions. So, starting with week 1, speak to Riven. Search for Do Riven's Lair. I'm going to paraphrase them so you just know exactly what it is, right? I'm going to say, speak to Riven. Riven's Lair. So, Glorified Strike. Hollow Projector. Blind Well. Do Polozemy mission, but it's actually Riven's Lair. Go to Helm and listen to characters talk. Speak to Riven. Week 2. Speak to Riven. Do Riven's Lair, but it's called Tautology. Hollow Projector. Do a lost sector in the Dreaming City. Awkwardly watch characters talk. Hollow Projector. Speak to Riven. Week 3. Speak to Riven. Do more lost, the Coil. Yeah, just do Coil. Do a bunch of coils to get glass shards. Hollow Projector. Do the Oracle Engine. Do Riven's Lair, but it's called Amphetamine. Awkwardly watch people talk. Hollow Projector. Speak to Riven. Week 4. Speak to Riven. Do Riven's Lair, but it's called Apophysis. Talk to Crow. The Exotic Mission. Speak to Riven. Week 5. Speak to Riven. Do Riven's Lair, but it's called Synthesis. Talk to Mara. Do an Ascendant Challenge. Hollow Projector. Do more Riven's Lair or the Coil. Listen to characters talk awkwardly. Hollow Projector. Speak to Riven. Week 6. Riven's Lair. Again, talk to Crow. Hollow Projector. Chase oracles in public space. Blind Well. Talk to Mara. Awkwardly listen to conversations. Speak to Riven. Week 7. Speak to Riven. Do Riven's Lair, but it's called Chiasmus. Go to the Wishing Wall. Activate. Let's backtrack. Chiasmus is pretty much Riven's Lair, but with at the end was a new kind of area, but it's still reused assets even within that. Speak to Crow. Go to the raid and go to the 5th wish and input the 5th wish. Speak to Mara. Then we get an actual cutscene, the only story and content in the season that actually matters. Watch as Crow goes to the portal. That is the content you paid for. Do we begin to understand the problem with the season? It's funny because content creators like Dado defended Bungie when they received backlash from the community during Season of the Plunder when Bungie brought back Sunset Lost Sectors and reused them for seasonal content, right? Remember that the Mars Lost Sector, wait, that's the Mars Lost Sector. You took Mars away from us. And Dado was like, hey, that's not that bad. It's sunsetted. There's more issues with the game than that. And honestly, you know what? I agreed with him because it wasn't egregious. I think we can agree that Bungie has taken that and used it as a green light to give us whatever garbage we got this season. I have never seen someone so egregiously reuse assets like Bungie has this season. You want to know what the missions for Season of the Wish is? It's Riven's Lair, which is just doing the same activity over and over and over and over again. And then the Dreaming City. That's what you paid for. This is what you paid for. What's that? It's free. You still paid for it. Not only are they double, but they're even triple dipping the Coil and Riven's Lair for missions. But they're making us play old content that was either free or you already paid for. Anyone dumb enough to buy the season wish, including me, can't get their money back. We're pretty much scammed. If it wasn't for the seasonal activity itself and the exotic mission, this would be composed of 100% reused assets. But even the exotic mission was lazy. It was such a cop-out that they used it as an actual mission. In every other situation we've had exotic missions, it's been its own thing. But they're like, oh, well, we're just gonna pull this into the season. Bungie, to skip having to put more effort into the season, that's the bottom dollar. We literally do Lost Sectors, the Oracle Engine, Ascendant Challenges, the Blind Well. One of the week missions is to visit an empty room. We touched the chair, and that's the content. We paid real money to be able to touch the seats of a fictional woman. Now, I know people are down bad, but there's no way they're that stupid to simp and pay money just to touch a seat. But hold up, Bungie's probably trying to focus on the final shape to make sure the community's happy. That is the most brainless IQ excuse I could ever think of anyone trying to use. 2 years have people have complained about seasons, and Bungie did nothing but reuse assets this season. There's nothing more disrespectful to the community than that. They might as well take our money, burn it, and flip us the bird. Who in their right mind thought, yeah, well, people will play content they paid for already. Let's just make them do more of that, right? While we're at it, let's use free to play assets too. Screw you. These dumb players will gobble it up. You know who signed off on this crap? Joe Blackburn. Amazing how people will praise how he listens to the community. But are we really going to ignore that we literally visit an empty room and that's supposed to be fun? That's fun. Content that we gave money for. But of course, people will have us all just sit and be there telling us to shut up. Be happy about what you got. That's not how consumerism works. The people making the product make it for the player, not for themselves. Cutting corners on the final season does not inspire trust. It does not encourage faith. It's comical that Joe Blackburn tries to build up some goodwill with the community, but all that is flushed down the toilet when Bungie releases a $15 starter pack. Are we going to ignore that existed? We're just going to act like, yeah, this never happened. Joe Blackburn's the best. Yes, nothing to say. We're listening, trying to rob new players. You know what's ironic? I really did hate Season of the Plunderer. But the more I compare that season to this season, I realize how much better Season of the Plunderer is. It's an ironic comparison of what effort in a season looks like versus no effort at all. Anyone is anyone in chat or in the comment section remember Season of the Plunderer season? Yeah, like if you started the season, you got a full armor set, legendary. For like, Arc was the last 3.0 subclasses that were just put in the game. Bungie gave everyone care packages, which included Arc. Right? Included an entire armor set with mods preset into it, the exotic Thunderlord, and an exotic armor piece respective of each character class. Yeah, you didn't need to pay $15 for that either. Not only that, but actually help start new players with an actual kit. Like you jump right into the game. But for some reason, Bungie has never done that again. But instead of helping new players experience, have a better fresh start, a good experience, we decided in Season of the Wish, we're going to try to soak up as much cash from new players, because nothing says welcome to Destiny like you, give me your money. What's that? You need help figuring out how to get a build together? Well, if you check the store, you'll find a lot of goodies you can buy with money, because you won't see much starting out. But don't worry, we don't sell exotics or weapons like other games. Yep, they definitely didn't, chat. They definitely didn't try to sell exotic weapons for cash to new players. Yep, Joe Blackburn definitely didn't sign off on this. He had no idea this was happening. Not a single clue. He loves new players. Definitely. While yes, the activity itself wasn't the most fun, and it did get boring after times, the loot was great. We had also Niobe Labs, which was a fantastic challenge. It was also a secret. And again, the weapons were memorable. Like, people are craving that. Gambit Prime and the Reckoning may have not been the most hype, but we can all agree that it was innovative. I mean, we had actual armor sets that did specific things in the game mode. The Reckoning was actually a challenge for a lot of people. It was innovative. Bungie actually tried new things with these activities. This is the final season, and with years of feedback, the criticism I give is well worth it. I am dogging Bungie for this season, and it is 100% warranted. There is zero excuse for the crap they sold us. This is the final season, especially with Bungie banking on the final shape to save the game. Heck, save the company. Bungie has shown us time and time again that they cannot be trusted. And I don't care if devs were against this. They're against the season. I don't care if they live in fear anymore. It's just like what I tell my students when they're being bullied, or if they see someone being bullied, right? If you sit there and watch someone being bullied, then you're as guilty because you are standing by in agreement of what's going on. If you are not actively trying to stop it and make change, you are in agreement with the status quo. And the status quo of the season is reused assets. It's garbage. Even the seasonal exotic mission is short. And they did that intentionally because they knew if they made you do an exotic mission and it was hard and challenging, like some of the other ones were, people wouldn't be able to get past the seasonal mission because of that. And people would have been upset. So they made it easy and short. That's why the boss ultimately dropped the mechanics. That's why the boss doesn't have anything crazy that actually makes it a challenge. It is a joke. That's why I don't give Joe Blackburn a pass. He's a leader who has creative control. But the only thing creative about the season is how they could scam people out of their money this season. Oh, but they're adding more content to the season. Oh, like wishes? Which require you to do what exactly? Oh, right. Lost sectors. Sure, this is great for new players, but wishes do nothing new. It's chores. Just basically the whole season is chores. I don't play games to do chores. I play games to have fun. I think that's a pretty basic concept. It's fact that a $27 indie game not only has more players and has made more money than a AAA company, but the fact that people will remember Pal World more than they do the Destiny 2 story. Why Why is it that an indie game understands the basic concept of letting gamers have fun, and Bungie, who made Halo, no longer understands what fun is? Unless they think putting a shopping mall in a game is considered fun. You know, they probably do. That's why we not only have gone for one collab armor set, The Witcher, but now we have 2 this season. That's right. We've got 2 in one season. That's right. Like The Witcher set, you like The Witcher set? You like it? You love Witcher? Give me your money. What's that? We heard you loud and clear. You want good faith? We're going to build good faith with the community. We've got a collab with Mass Effect. What's that? You want that armor? Give me your money. Is it for Bright Dust? Hell no. But they're giving away free Ghost, Ship, and a Sparrow. They're giving the community something. Aren't you grateful for that? Yes, because that's equivalent of giving me leftovers from a restaurant. Isn't that nice? Isn't that a great meal? It came from Olive Garden, but it's half-eaten bread. Like, no one cares about Ghosts and Sparrows and Ships. I get that crap from Bright Engrams already. Most players don't have or even use 90% of the filler cosmetics. We want cool cosmetic armor. And the fact that Bungie hasn't even given us the minimal of allowing us to buy it for Bright Dust speaks volumes. But of course Bungie doesn't care. Why would they when the Bungie pay pigs out there are gobbling up all the garbage they pump out? They complain about PvP, PvE, yet they buy everything in the store. Man, sometimes I wonder what it's like to shoot myself in the foot. Anyone who spends cash on the store has zero right to complain about the game. Zero. They do not have a right to talk about the state of the game because they are forfeiting that right when they told Bungie with their cash to make them bend over and eat whatever dog they come up with. The pay pigs will eat whatever slop is in front of them. Because again, action means more, and Bungie take action when you pay Bungie your money. Why would Bungie care if you give them money? Bungie has had time to earn the grace of the community. They have done nothing with it. Absolutely nothing to bring back faith. Oh, so they gave us a new map for PvP. So they talk a lot on Twitter, or they immediately nerf things instead of taking months to do it. Okay, but what about the content? What about the things that could or should have been done years ago? The season is supposed to lead us into the conclusion that we've waited for years. Many of us have been loyal to Bungie and the series. We've given them slack. And slack and more slack. But Bungie has shown us that they truly do not care with their actions. Should you buy Season of the Wish? No. Do not waste your money. Watch the cutscenes on YouTube. There's like 2 or 3 of them on YouTube. Should you buy the final shape? Honestly, no. If you haven't bought it yet, wait until after it comes out. So if it's a train wreck, you can watch it happen instead of actively being a participant in the train wreck. Season of the reused assets is nearly a scam that continues to rob you of your money and your time while making you think that the story matters when none of it makes a difference. If anything, you'll get a summary of everything leading to the final shape at the beginning of the final shape. There is no way Bungie can sunset seasons and not have something for players who didn't play the seasons to go off of. The season is a shining example of what Bungie has become and what they think of the community. Words mean nothing, but action means everything. So think about the next time you make an angry comment on my video when I call out Bungie. What actions have Bungie done to deserve such dedication? What have they done for the community that shows that things are going to be better. I wish people would open their eyes and make reasonable, logical assessments versus eating whatever their favorite content creator tells them to eat. Ultimately, what you do with your time and your money is your right. But I'm going to give you the brutally honest truth. You can't complain about the state of the game and then defend Bungie for some of the most egregious stuff they have ever done in this season. Listen, I love Destiny. I've been here from the beginning. When Destiny 2 launched, it almost killed the franchise. I toughed it out. But I'm tired of being disrespected. I'm tired of constantly toughing it out. Games are supposed to be fun, not a job. If Bungie wants my money, they need to earn it with a good, complete, fun game. If a $27 indie game that is early access can make a good game, I have faith that if Bungie tried, they could. But greed kills. And if Bungie doesn't focus on the players first instead of money, then I don't see them lasting long. And we may be around long enough to see Bungie dissolve into Sony. Then who knows what will happen to Destiny then. With that, I leave you guys on YouTube, at least on the video. I'm still live streaming. I thank you for your time. Show the video some love, give it a like, share it with a friend, and sub to the channel for more. Until next time, don't forget to be the best version of yourself and game out.